about courage and courageous love, it popped into my mind that this day could not be happening if it were not for the courage of the legions of gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender folk who could not bear to keep the secret of their identity any longer. It is because of their courage and their conviction that they were good human beings who contributed to this world. And the reaction of many of their parents who said, "We love you, we love who you are." That's the shoulders we're standing on today. Those people who had that courage, that moral courage, that loving courage. My personal involvement with the issue of civil rights for all persons, including marriage equality, goes back a long ways, since my days as a junior high school counselor in Colorado, long before I was a minister. When I moved to Seattle to serve the Unitarian Universalist congregations on Whidbey and Vashon Islands in 2003, I quickly joined the board of the interfaith clergy organization, the Religious Coalition for Equality, which was part of the crowd accompanying the plaintiffs who first attempted to register for marriage licenses at the King County Clerk's office and were denied. Our intent for the coalition was to change the common perception that churches, synagogues, and mosques were enemies of the gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender community. We were acting in direct opposition to those religious bodies whose doctrines did oppose equality for sexual minorities. We held worship services. We marched at Pride. We supported legislators as they began the long process of making marriage equality a reality, starting with anti-discrimination laws and then moving to domestic partnerships, eventually with the same rights as married couples, with the goal of attaining marriage equality for all committed couples. When I moved to Whidbey Island in 2006, I continued my activities with the Religious Coalition for Equality, but once the coalition united with Equal Rights Washington, I began to concentrate my efforts on Whidbey Island. The Unitarian Universalist congregation of Whidbey Island had already become a welcoming congregation, and we made this a public part of our presence in the community. In 2008, when California's Proposition 8 passed so disappointingly, my congregation and I invited gay couples to hold their own wedding and Holy Union ceremonies in our brand new sanctuary, free of charge, using my services as officiant if they desired, with the promise of my signing marriage certificates when marriage equality became a reality in Washington, because we knew it would. A few years later, while the exciting marriage equality legislation was before the Washington State Senate, just barely short of the requisite 25 yay votes needed to pass it into law, our Island County Senator, the renowned Mary Margaret Haugen, scheduled a town hall meeting on the island at the Bayview Senior Center. The hall was packed for that 2 p.m. Saturday meeting, and early topics included education, ferry policies, always an issue on the island, and budgetary issues, which also includes issues. But the hall's occupants were largely gay and lesbian citizens who had come to ask her to be the 25th yes vote on legislation before the Senate, which would give all loving couples the right to marry, regardless of gender. I had scribbled a few notes because it felt important as the Unitarian Universalist minister in town to make a religious statement about the issue. I didn't know if there would be detractors or other ministers opposing marriage equality, but I wanted to support my friends in the gay and lesbian community. So when the topic arose, I asked to be recognized and stood to speak. The response from the gathered body was unexpected and gratifying. 2 standing ovations. It was quite a day for me. They don't do that in church. I remember saying, wait, there's more. I don't remember everything I said that afternoon, but the term moral courage popped into my mind because Senator Haugen had shown moral courage many times in her deliberations as a senator, and I hope she would find the personal and professional strength to take this step, where it would be controversial and challenging for her. To our great delight and admiration, Senator Haugen, later in the legislative session, did become the 25th senator to sign on to the legislation, which became law, was challenged, survived a referendum vote in November of 2012, and became Washington state law. And since that time, I have had the wonderful opportunity to say at the end of a marriage ceremony, and now, by the authority invested in me by the state of Washington, I pronounce you husband and husband, partners for life. Senator Haugen, I thank you for your moral courage and for the discernment process you carefully entered in order to make the right decision about your vote. I know that you thought long and hard about it. I know that you talked with family and friends. I appreciated your careful listening that day at the Bayview Senior Center and your respectful approach to the concerns being voiced. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'd also like to acknowledge the work of Haley Watkins, who energized and supported our Whidbey Island PFLAG group, Parents and Friends of Lesbians and Gays, and helped to focus our efforts and provide in productive ways while being a warm and welcoming presence as the long arc bent toward justice. Thank you, Haley.